Daddy Yankee is preaching to people that may have never heard the gospel before. And he's using a certain way of doing it that is unique to him. He said, I was done with music, and then God called him back and said, I want to use your talent, right, that you were using for the world. We're going to use it for you to minister to people. They're wondering, like, he's making people curious. He tells them, he's like, these trophies are great. He's like, but the biggest trophy is the crown of life. God's like, I'm just waiting for you to surrender all that so that I can either give it back to you or give you something better, you know, something that you're going to love even more.
I definitely believe God does call people in these platforms to use them and transform them. That's our question to you today is, are you willing to surrender it all, even if it's your plans and what you want? And are you willing to be rejected like he was by his own wife, family, community for becoming a Christian? What is up, everybody watching Behind Bars right now? It's Worthy People with a brand new hot topic talk. You heard it here first, as we've got a new one on Daddy Yankee. And I want to be able to welcome my lovely, ever beautiful wife, Julia. So we got a little bit of gasoline today. Y'all just saw this trailer. We're talking about it from a point of view to give God glory and let you know that's watching is that Daddy Yankee is a great example of seeing that you can have all the money, you can have all the fame, you can have all the cars, you can have the popularity, all of that, all of the things that so many times people chase. You can have it all and still feel empty, still feel like you have no purpose, because none of it will fulfill you. Many of us at one time, we've chased those things in our lives. Maybe that's why you ended up in prison chasing those things. But somebody needs to know today that it ain't about the millions of dollars. Daddy Yankee is a good example that even though he had all of those things, he still didn't have purpose. The flip side we want to talk about is that y'all are probably saying, y'all have already talked about Daddy Yankee. We already saw this. This is old news. No, this is new news because this is an update
on Daddy.
On a hot topic talk, because so many celebrities and people like to say, oh, I don't talk about celebrities because they don't stay serving Jesus long enough. Well, God bless you, and we hope to achieve your righteousness one day. But the rest, people know that there are celebrities who have surrendered and gotten saved and sold their life out for Jesus and serving him. Yes, a lot of celebrities go through a phase, or they could do it for popularity or monetary reasons. Only God knows their heart, right? We delivering the mail to you today. We don't write it. We don't come up with it. There is what we know that Jesus says in the Bible, you will know a good tree by its fruit. You'll know a bad tree by its fruit. And so people in the entertainment industry, celebrities, people of influence, I believe when someone of that caliber gives their life to Jesus, it speaks to the masses. It speaks to so many more people than maybe you and I could ever reach. So I definitely believe God does call people in these platforms to use them and transform them. So we're doing an update on Daddy Yankee. Because was he just an overnight Christian? Was he just a one-time prayer? Was he just said he got saved and backslid? I'm thinking of all the Christianese terms.
Yeah.
Or is he still serving God? And if you know anything about Hot Topic Talk, I know it's been a while, but I am the co-host. I present to you the host, the one who knows everything about Ramón and can tell you. I'll just turn it over to you, Julia.
Okay, well, last we left off on Daddy Yankee, and y'all can go back and watch the episode too, was that he shocked the world. You know, it was crazy because at the time, just a little bit of background, he kept promoting this concert they call it the Choliseo, which is like a coliseum in Puerto Rico because he's Puerto Rican. And it was just a big deal, and nobody knew that he was going to retire, you know, and at the very end in the last Hot Topic talk, he gave this whole speech about how he was giving his life to Jesus, and his name was Ramón Ayala, and basically that he was going to stop doing music. Like that was it. He was done. He was surrendered. He's going to go preach the gospel and all that stuff. And so he threw his microphone on the floor, and that was it. He said bye to everybody, and he was turning his life over to Jesus, and that's what he was going to do. That was the mission, right? So I want to say, I don't know when the Latin Billboards happened, but it was, kind of towards the end of the year. He shocked everybody because he went from retiring. We're going to put the video up. Basically, it shows him walking into a room and picking up a microphone, and he just started singing his heart out at the Latin Billboards right now.
And the Latin Billboards, just for history of everybody, or if you're a gringo like me, is nationally televised, like Telemundo, Univision.
Yes, it's like a big deal. Like the Latin Billboards is a big deal in the Latin community, even in other communities. People watch it. It's like the Oscars kind of, I know Oscars is for actors, but it's he had made a song prior to the Latin Billboards called,
I think the Oscars is movies, so Grammys.
Like the Grammys, yes. The Latin Billboards is like the Grammys, which I know that they have AMAs and, all that stuff. So he came back and he had made this song called Sonrisa, which we've also put on other episodes. And basically it's a very upbeat song. And I love the song. He is such a lyrical genius, like when he makes his music, because in the song he's talking about he's walking with Jesus now and all this stuff, and it's crazy. Like nobody comes up with these songs. And so crazy thing about that is that people started posting the song on TikTok, on social media out here, and it's people that have like cancer, and they're like, they just got like a treatment done, and they're dancing the song, people in like the worst situations, and they're just dancing the song and they're playing it. And so he started reposting it to his social media. When people were doing that, he was like reposting, and because he's like, wow, like this song has inspired. But with all that being said, Daddy Yankee had actually said that he was retiring, he was no longer doing music, he started preaching at churches. And another thing with Daddy Yankee, a lot of people know this, a lot of people don't know this, is that in the middle of his transition from becoming a Christian, Daddy Yankee basically lost his wife, and she filed for divorce, and she left him, and she sued him for everything he had. And she was like, I'm done. They were married for 20 something years, and she I
think that's a good test for everyone to know that when you give your life to Jesus, it's going to cost you something. So many times that we want Jesus to do something for us, to help us, but being in prisons all the time, people come forward and they tell me man, I gave my life to God, but I didn't think it was going to be this hard, or my baby mama or my wife left me, my family doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. And we would see this with Jesus, even his own disciples. And he says that no man, person, woman is worthy to be called his disciple unless they leave mother, father, brother, sister. And you might be saying, Cody, what you saying? To serve Jesus, I can't have a family? No, that's not what I'm saying. And that's not what Jesus was saying. But he was saying, if you're not willing to leave your family or put up with those people who are going to leave out of your life for the gospel, that you can't serve him. You can't. He's either Lord of all in your life or not at all. And Jesus doesn't ever want to be backseat to other relationships in your life. Yeah. So, she left him. Of course, we had this conversation with some other people that, there must have been a lot of inner workings of, because, a lot of people, and I want to expound on this a little bit because I think it's important, because a lot of people, like you're talking about, a lot of people that get saved, their wives are like, what's wrong with you? I'm not going to, I'm not doing this with you. We don't know how he was prior, right? We don't know what he did to her. We don't know. So a lot of times the wives will look at the husband or vice versa and be like, oh, now you're walking with Jesus. Now you're a little holy, right? And so we're praying for her. We don't know how this is going to play out. I've seen people get divorced and literally burn the divorce papers and get remarried. You never know how God's going to play a story out. You never know, and seeing what happens. So anyway, sued him for his name, his actual Daddy Yankee name, and the DY, because that's his thing, right? The court decided, no, this is his name, he can keep it, had to pay her millions of dollars. Fun fact,
for this episode is we did so much research on it that we actually went to Puerto Rico over the holidays.
We didn't go to Puerto Rico for Daddy Yankee.
But hey, we're,
Julia's sister and her husband, they are pastors and missionaries of a church there in Puerto Rico. San Juan exactly is where, as far as that we traveled into.
Yeah.
And their church is in Bayamon,
yes.
And so we just left the island.
So we feel like
we were there. San Juan, we were in San Juan, and that's where Daddy Yankee lived. So we're like, we're breathing the same.
We're breathing the same right now. But
it was cool to get to see that and the impact that his music can kind of understand, even his music videos. Because if you've ever seen them, they can look very tropical because they're being shot in Puerto Rico. But getting to see that, well, there was this ongoing joke. I'm going to put her out there real quick. And there was this ongoing joke because as the family was giving us the tour of the island, we were literally 18 of us, men, women, and children, packed into a 15-passenger van.
Two babies, yes.
18 people, 15-passenger van, 3 days. So when people were like, oh, the water looked beautiful, your vacation, I'm like, wasn't really a vacation. It was a family trip.
It was a family trip.
Because there was no relaxing on the beach or anything like that.
Or with
we got to see the beach, but, I mean, it was a lot going on.
It wasn't like chill on the beach.
Every day she would be like, this is the day we're going to run into Daddy Yankee. We're going to see him. And when I see him, I'm going to walk up to him and I'm going to invite him to come into the prisons and to do a prison concert. She's like, if Jelly Roll can do that in country space, then we're going to get Daddy Yankee
ever watches this episode, we want to invite you into the prison.
Daddy Yankee, if you're watching, please contact us. We would love to bring you in.
In Jesus' name. I'm still praying for that.
So, hey, you never know. So there was this ongoing joke while we were in Puerto Rico in San Juan that she was going to see Daddy Yankee, right? So her sister and everybody just started making fun of her.
And I was joking, okay? But a little bit maybe real.
They started making fun of her. So it's our last day there. We're at one of our nephew's birthday party that they were having after church at this pizza restaurant, which Puerto Rico has some awesome pizza. I'd go back just for that, right? But we're at this pizza restaurant. Well, there's like this Polaris, sport utility SUV looking vehicle that pulls up to the front. There's a guy sitting in the passenger seat that has the profile of immediate looks like Daddy Yankee. And there's two people in all black that look like security guards on the outside, bodyguards. And then you see some ladies at the window talking to him. So when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, who is that Daddy Yankee, right, when I saw him? But then the whole setup that looked like the bodyguards and the vehicle, I'm like, okay, I could really sell this to Julia.
In 2 seconds, he decided to prank me.
I said, hey, you're not going to believe this, but Daddy Yankee's right there in that car with the people on the outside. I just saw for a split second her get so excited. She thought that God had answered her prayer. Not for her to invite him into the prison, right? For you guys, right?
For y'all.
So she got so mad at me.
Well, my heart skipped a beat. I'm not gonna lie. It happened really quick, but my heart did skip a beat. I was like, and then immediately realized it wasn't Daddy Yankee, but whatever, I'm still waiting for God to answer that prayer, because he's gonna do prison ministry with us one day. Anyway, moving on from the joke. It was a bad joke, and I'm still mad at you about it, FYI. Anyway, so
I just got one question. Like in all of this, it's never set well with me that my wife calls another man daddy.
Well, you're calling him daddy.
I mean, what do y'all think about that?
That's his name.
I think his name's Yankee, and you just
no, his name is Daddy. But anyways, let's keep telling the story.
When are you gonna call me Daddy?
Be quiet. Oh my God.
If you call him Daddy Yankee, you can call me Daddy Cody.
That's his name. That's his name. Anyway, moving on. Okay.
Let's go back to Yankee.
So he made the song Sonrisa, which I'm going to do a shameless plug. Some of the people in prison, y'all need to watch that video and pick up some of the moves so that when we come in and visit, we can put it on, we'll record it, and then we'll send it to him. No, and it'll be just
don't
fun.
Don't copy us, anyone who just heard that.
Yeah. Hey, but let's do it. Let's learn the moves. Like he has like the Nazareno thing going, and then he does like the gasolina thing, and anyway, if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so he lost his wife. He made this. So Daddy Yankee, he's been doing like interviews. So he got invited to the Latin Billboards, which was a big deal because they've never had a Christian artist at the Latin Billboards. Then he made this other song with a secular DJ. So don't come after Daddy Yankee because he made a song with a secular DJ, okay? Total Christian song. But everybody said how he went back to his roots, his reggaetonero roots. Like it sounds very...
He got invited by the NFL.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm going with it. Because he made this song with this secular... This DJ... actually invited him to come and do the NFL in Spain. They had this real marching band come out, which was, for people that know Spanish, it's the Banda Catracha, like from Honduras, which my dad's from Honduras. So just throwing that out there. So I have a video that we're going to post where the band is actually praying before coming on stage. Anyways, he came out, literally ministered with this song. Bizarrap is the DJ. He ministered with this song to the people. I mean, it was about 30,000 people. Gospel, yeah. Now, I will tell you this and this is again Pharisee mindset, right? A lot of people are like, that song's not Christian, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you listen to the lyrics, it's actually very Christian. And he talks about how, when he leaves this earth, he's not taking anything with him. That he's found a real love, all this stuff, right? And I have a video that I'm also going to post on here. And there was a guy on social media that got the song verse by verse and got the scripture from the Bible where he's basically preaching, And then he got another invite to Colombia. I believe it was Medellin. I'm not 100% sure. But with J Balvin, which is another secular artist, and he did his song there in front of like 50,000 people, right? And what you have to know about Daddy Yankee is that when he went on the Latin Billboards at the very end, they let him preach for like a few seconds. He said...
You've seen the clip at this point.
Yes, you've seen the clip. He's like, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He did the same thing in the NFL Spain thing, right? And then he did the same thing in Colombia, right?
And it was a big thing about, y'all have already seen the Super Bowl at this point.
Yes.
With Bad Bunny being the featured artist, but they asked him if he would play with Bad Bunny.
So they already asked him, they're like, Bad Bunny's from Puerto Rico. Are you going to be in the Are you going to do Gasolina? Because, they're thinking he's going to feature some Puerto Rican people, right? He said, now, if they let me come in and do my new songs, he's like, yes, I will be there. But
he said, if you had a message for Bad Bunny, what message would you give him?
Yes, the message for Bad Bunny, he said, I respect him, I love him. He was like, I just spoke to him yesterday. He said, but he's like, his biggest accomplishment is going to be to give his life to Jesus. That's what he told Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny needs to give his life to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he's like, that's going to be his biggest. And it's crazy. I love how Daddy Yankee ministers to people. Because he tells people, he's like, I respect you. I respect what you're doing. I respect your music. And every interview that I've seen where he's talking about different artists, even at the Latin Billboards, which y'all are going to see, he tells them, he's like, these trophies are great. He's like, but the biggest trophy is the crown of life. Like he talks about that. So, it's crazy though to see him ministering in these huge places, because he basically had stepped away from music. He said, I was done with music. And then God called him back and said, I want to use your talent, right, that you were using for the world. We're going to use it for you to minister to people, and a lot of people are out here saying like, again, Pharisee mindset, right? They're like, oh, he's just doing it for the money and blah, blah, blah. Daddy Yankee has millions of dollars. Like he doesn't need the money, right? But his songs...
He's probably making a lot less money.
Doing
Christian music compared to before. I mean, it reminds me of guests that we've had here on the podcast, you've seen Pasquale. Pasquale said, he was rapping for the world, for the devil, in prison, right, for over 15 years until he got saved and gave his life to Jesus. But that was always something missing for years, he says, because he did music and he no longer did music. He says that when Brian T came in, he saw him rap for Jesus. That's the first time that he saw that, and the Lord really used that to speak through him. And it's almost like Daddy Yankee, like, hey, man, I'm stepping away. I'm done with music. Puts the microphone down. In that moment, I believe that God had to refine him, disciple him, prepare him, because you would see Daddy Yankee go straight from that to church. Yeah. And you would see him at church in Puerto Rico, not on some big glorious stage or whatever, just a regular church like anywhere, sharing his testimony. You would see him preach, but you would see this transition of him preaching and being involved in the church for 2 years before he came back to his music. And I share that with someone because I see that on the flip side with so many different people, even here on the outside and in the prison, that give your life to Jesus, that want to do music, that just take off in that, go through a time of being discipled, getting prepared. I mean, when we don't call it born again for nothing. We call it born again. The Bible says you become a new creation. You literally go through a rebirth, a spiritual rebirth. And so just like when you were a baby, and the Bible says you're a baby of the word, you're on the milk of the word, you have to learn to walk. You have to learn everything. And so people who just jump out there as soon as they get saved to start a ministry or start music or whatever it is for God, those are the people a lot of times that you do see crash and burn and that you do see fall. So my advice would be just what we saw even with Daddy Yankee. Allow God in when you give your life to Christ and those around you when they get saved. Allow him to work on you, prepare you. Jesus, for 30 years old till he started his ministry, he still went through a time of preparation. So don't skip the preparation to go straight in for what you want to do for God. First, let God work on you. That way, when God opens that door for you to do something for him, that it does last because you have a solid foundation built on the rock of Jesus.
Well, and two, when it comes to the preaching, fun fact, he didn't start preaching right away either. Actually, and he says this in his interviews, he's currently doing this. The way that he serves his church is he's the drummer, which is crazy, right? Like, he's the drummer. Like, he's one of, like I said, the lyrical genius of the life or whatever. And the guy plays the drums in his church. He's not even looking for the pulpit, like on top of, but I think the microphone. He's just like, I'm just back here playing the drums. You know what I mean? Like, and he says things like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But I think it's important that when you do get saved and you surrender your life, that you're just open. Like, he really believed that God had told him to put his music down. That's it. No more music. As you're serving God, he starts like revealing to you how he's going to use you. And his biggest love that he thought, I'm going to have to give this up. And he did. In his heart, he had given it up. He had said, I'm done. But he was just open to whatever God had for him. He was like, whatever you have for me, whatever you want me to do for you, I'm just open to it. If you want me to, I'm paraphrasing, right? I'm like, if you want me to clean toilets, if you want me to serve or be the person at the door, opening the door at my church, I'm okay with that. Well, guess what God did? He gave him back his love for music. And he said, okay, now you're prepared. Now you're strong enough to go minister. Because, a lot of people, they try to go into ministering right away or music or whatever. And they end up, like you said, like going back because they can't handle. I know Christian artists that said it took them at least, like, Pasquale was saying, and I don't know if he said this, but other Christian artists that are like, I can't hear the beats because it takes me back to a place, because they're not strong enough at that moment. They just got saved, and even me, like, I had to completely stop listening to certain types of music because it would take me back to depression was my thing with music. But, Daddy Yankee, he took his time, he got strong, he laid down the music, he sacrificed, he's like, I'm done. And then guess what? God said, okay, here's your music. This is your love. I'm giving it back to you so you can use it for my glory, which is crazy. I mean,
it kind of almost reminds me in the Bible about Isaac and and Abraham and Isaac. Is that, man?
Yes.
Abraham wanted Isaac more than anything.
Yeah, that was his love
for his son, and he never thought he was going to have a son. So when he had it, and God was like, "You're going to sacrifice your son. You're going to give it to me." We know was a test that God used the thing he loved the most to see if he was willing to give it up for him. Yes, a lot of celebrities and music people crash and fail and burn, right? But maybe because they didn't pass the test.
Yeah.
They went straight into the music. They didn't want to give it up. And God was like, I'm not going to allow you to serve me because until I can be number one.
I think his surrender of just saying, I'm a new creation and I'm open to whatever you want me to do. I think that's how we all should be. I mean, I'm speaking for myself because I make my own plans. I want to do what I want to do. I want certain things. And God's like, I'm just waiting for you to surrender all that so that I can either give it back to you or give you something better, something that you're going to love even more. But, the fact that God has used Daddy Yankee. See, here's the thing. And I always say this, like, if we're just around Christians, right, that speak like us, that look like us, that act like us, I mean, Jesus said, go and make disciples, right? Like, Daddy Yankee is preaching to people that may have never heard the gospel before. And he's using a certain way of doing it that is unique to him, but that people can actually listen to. Like, all these millions of people that he's been ministering to at the billboards, his videos have gone viral. I mean, it's crazy, right? They're singing about Jesus. Like, they're literally singing about Jesus. They're saying that they're walking with Jesus. They're saying that, like, he talks in that other with Bizarrap, he's talking about how, we need to get saved to go to heaven. And he's talking about passports and stuff like that, right? The thing is that people, sometimes they don't even realize that they're singing that stuff. But then as they start listening to the words, they're like, what is he talking about? Like, they're wondering, like, he's making people curious. And I think it's important to, God is using him to minister to people that maybe Christian rappers or people, they've never been able to reach those type of people.
Yeah.
And so I believe, like, everybody who ministers, like, your uniqueness, that's like a superpower, because you're going to reach someone that is not going to be reached by us or by someone who's been in church their whole life, and he's reaching the masses. And I listened to an interview with Redimido, which we posted videos with him. He's been in the Christian reggaeton rap business for over 20 years. And I was really impressed by him because he said he was giving Daddy Yankee like a lot of props. Daddy Yankee is reaching people that I have never been able to reach before. Never. Like,
doing the same
style of music. He's like, but we need to be praying for him. We need to be backing him up spiritually, because he's reaching like people that I'm never gonna be able to reach, And so that's the whole nother conversation with, Christian jealousy and stuff like that, right? But Redimido was like, he's kind of like the father in the Christian reggaeton sense, and I just love what Daddy Yankee's doing. Like, he's doing it, and people have tried to come out with headlines against him, and they're like, oh, who was that woman he was hugging? And, some of his posts, it's like, that's his daughter. Like, he travels with his daughters, like, and a lot of people don't realize Daddy Yankee's old, right? Like, Daddy Yankee's not young.
I laugh at such the pharisaical mindset of the Pharisees, because they used to always try to find fault with Jesus.
Yeah.
Not saying Mr. Yankee's Jesus, right? But it's just the Christians in general, they always try to find, what'd you do wrong? What are you trying to say? What are you doing? And they follow Jesus to try to find fault within him. But also back to the beginning of talking about someone who's famous, is that people often write it off, but it's still a Pharisee mindset.
Yeah.
Because the Pharisees, even when they heard that Jesus was from Bethlehem, they said, can anything good come from here, or from Nazareth, right? Can anything good come out of here? That we would see these judgments of constant judgments, condescending, not good enough, don't believe it. Those are the people that killed Jesus, and that's why Jesus came to abolish religion. For the religious person, Daddy Yankee's not perfect, but hey, neither are you, neither am I. But he's an example of one of many, hundreds, thousands of people that had similar fame that are serving Jesus. He's an example to people who think that's not possible. But on the flip side, he's an example to the people who are chasing all these things. So you're looking for your worth and value. You're thinking, man, if I just had more money, if I had more influence, if I could do this, I would be happy. And he's showing that that's, not true.
And a lot of people, I think, and I'm talking to the Christians, right? I'm not even talking to like the people that don't know Jesus. I'm talking to the Christians. Christians believe like, oh, well, if I had more reach or more views or more, like I could get more people to get saved. And like, I think it's very important to know, like, we spread the message, but we can't save people. Only God can touch people. Only God can do that. I think if we can't work with the little that we have, when
we had the church people that would never give, a penny, right? Or tithe at all, would always make the comments. And you've heard people say this is like, if I win the lottery, I'm going to give, $1 million to the church when I win, right? They would rather spend $50 on the lotto than to put tie that to God to use to reach people and souls and let God bring the increase. Mm-hmm. Jesus said you cannot serve God and mammon, money. The truth of it is, if you can't give to God now with the little, because the woman who gave 2 pennies, Jesus said she's been faithful with little, so she can be trusted with much.
Yeah.
If you can't be faithful with the little that you have, the truth is you will not be faithful with the much, with the millions.
And I mean, I think we've met different artists, Christian artists, that they got a little bit of influence and we know they're not even doing Christian music anymore. I mean, really, like it just goes back to the surrender part. Like, you just have to surrender and say, you know what, I'm doing this, whatever God wants me to do, whatever it is, I'm happy. It reminds
me of that worship song, whatever you want me to do. He said, this is my surrender.
This is my surrender.
It says, I will do for you whatever you want.
Whatever, yes. And I mean, I'm not sitting here like being holy, y'all. Like, I am not Miss Holy. Cody knows this. Like, I struggle with this, not for fame, not for anything like that. I struggle with this because I like to plan, and I think like I like to have my own plans, and I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work, then we're gonna do this, and if this doesn't work, we're gonna do this, and I just have like all these backup plans and stuff, and then I have to come back and like remind myself, like, wait, this is like, you can make all your plans and stress out every day about what you're doing, but only God knows.
You got to let him be in the driver's seat and you in the passenger.
Yes.
And we're more comfortable being in the driver's seat.
Yes, because that's control. You can control those things. So, I mean, when I'm telling y'all this, like, I'm literally preaching to myself because that's me. I have a hard time just letting go and being like, Lord, whatever. I mean, I say it, but do I actually do it sometimes? I'm like, Lord, whatever you want. I know you are, everything, and I'm like, okay. And then I have to come back and say, Julia, like, you're not in charge here. Like, you're going to do what I tell you to do. And we're going to be less stressed out if you just follow what I'm doing. And, like I said, but anyway, going back to Daddy Yankee, he's just... I think that I'm very happy because yes, there have been different artists that we do the Hot Topic talk for, and They're maybe not serving the Lord, or maybe they are, but they're undercover, you know, because it just didn't work out. People came after them. People said they weren't real. There was hurt, you know, from the Christian community. They were rejected, you know, whatever. But right now it seems, and it seemed for a while, that he's running his race. You know what I mean? He's doing his thing. He's doing what God called him to do. I will tell you something funny. Last thing I'm gonna say is that, you know, when you're a Christian, you're gonna face rejection, whether you're Daddy Yankee or you're not Daddy Yankee. And it was crazy because when we were in Puerto Rico for Christmas, we went down to San Juan, which gorgeous. I mean, this is like bucket list stuff, views, okay? And I will tell you that when we were there, I saw these little flags all over the street. And I was like, oh, those are all the Puerto Rican artists, like Mark Anthony, Bad Bunny, Farruko, you know, like different Fonzie, you know, Luis Fonzie. I mean, I'm talking like from Vico C, like, you know, all these people, right? And I told my sister, I said, hey, why isn't Daddy Yankee on there? He's like he invented reggaeton, you know? She said, there's a thing where he's a Christian. So he's not rejected, but he's not accepted either. So they don't give him any kind of credit. I mean, some of these artists that I saw, I was like, I don't even know who that is, you know? Yeah. And I was like, Daddy Yankee should be on there. I mean, that was my mindset, right? And she's like, they're not accepting, like they're not giving him the credit like that.
And that's our question to you today is, are you willing to surrender it all, even if it's your plans and what you want for what God wants you to do? And are you willing to be rejected like he was by his own wife, family, and his own community? I mean, they took him down. They took his face down for becoming a Christian, for saying yes to Jesus. And so this is about seemed like a small piece of persecution compared to so many of our brothers and sisters, especially in Nigeria, that are getting killed by the thousands for believing in Jesus. But this is part of the end times. This is what we're coming to. Yeah. What's right will be looked at as wrong, and what is wrong will be looked at as right. And we have to prepare ourselves and get ourselves ready, because there's no way you can make it in prison, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or when you get out. Jesus said, because you're lukewarm, you're neither hot nor cold, I will spew you out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And that's just his word. So we invite you in this Hot Topic Talk. It's not celebrity gossip. It's not any of that. It's a way to bring people in by a person that people know, and it's a way to give God glory for what he's doing through a person and sharing a person's testimony. But ultimately, it's a place to bring people to say, hey, what do you need to surrender? What do you need to lay down? What do I need to surrender? We need to surrender. Yeah. What can we look at in the good things to apply to our own life? And so that's our prayer with this episode. So we're going to close out here. All right. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. God bless you.